6 spine-chilling encounters with a sinister neighbor. Every night revealed a new terror. In the quiet suburb of Cedar Creek, Molly felt like she was living in a modest nightmare. The kind of fear that curls your toes and tightens your chest. Just a fresh start with her daughter Lucy, or so she thought. But each sunny smile from their new neighbors started to feel more like a mask, veiling secrets buried deep in the ground. The clicks of the fence gate echoed like a gunshot in her mind, bringing reminders of her past. Mr. Jenkins lived next door, a retired police officer who seemed more ghost than man, slinking around their yard, peering through the curtains like a perverse detective. Molly tried to ignore him, but his presence was a shadow, always lurking nearby, flickering like the dying light outside. On their second night in the neighborhood, she spotted him standing amongst the roses, his eyes glinting in the shadows. Just checking the fence, he'd say, but it felt like he was checking her. As days turned into weeks, the unsettling occurrences escalated. One night, as Molly tucked Lucy into bed, she swore she heard whispers outside her window, hushed and sinister. She bolted out to check. Nothing. Just the night air thick with silence. What was she getting worked up about? But the tension settled inside her like a brick. It was just an old house, she told herself. Just creaks and groans. Yet, every night she felt eyes watching her, a spider lurking in the corners of her mind. Then came the shuffling. Quiet at first, a faint rustle, like leaves in the wind. Molly held her breath, fear creeping down her spine. She dismissed it as the old trees swaying. But then, objects began moving. Danny's toys, strewn across the living room, were placed back in neat little rows by morning. It made her skin crawl. Who would do that? Each time, the knot in her stomach tightened. She should report it, but no one would listen. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. On one of those oppressive evenings, the sun had dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the backyard. That was when Molly saw him, Mr. Jenkins, a dark silhouette at the edge of their property, his gaze fixated on her home. Her heart raced as Lucy's laughter echoed in the background, blissfully unaware. Molly felt the urge to scream, to run, but for her daughter's sake, she held it together. Then came that twilight she dreaded most. From the back of their old basement, she disturbed boxes, dust motes dancing in the harsh beam of her flashlight. Inside were old newspaper clippings, yellowed and faded, detailing an unsolved child abduction case in Cedar Creek. Her breath caught like a gasp. Was it a coincidence? She felt the walls close in, every creak now a sinister whisper. But how could she confront him? The next day, filled with fear and determined rage, Molly planned to ask Mr. Jenkins about Lucy's missing stuffed bear. As she stepped outside, she froze. The sight sent chills coursing down her spine. Mr. Jenkins sat on the edge of her driveway, a twisted grin on his face, holding up that innocent toy, the bear Lucy thought was lost. What was he playing at? The weight of dread crashed over her. She was no longer in control. Real terror seeped into her bones as the realization hit her she needed to protect Lucy. But from who? As darkness consumed the light, she prepared to face the real monster behind the mask of civility. What would this encounter reveal? Molly's heart pounded in her chest. The bear dangled from Mr. Jenkins's fingers like a noose, mocking her. That smug expression, it twisted in her gut like a knife. Where did you find it? She managed to croak, her voice trembling on the edge of disbelief. His grin widened, revealing an unsettling joy that set the hairs on the back of her neck on fire. Found it lying in my garden last night, he said, as if nothing was wrong. Her mind raced. Did he come onto her property? Steal it? Thank you, she said, forcing the word out past clenched teeth, snatching the bear from his grasp. Panic danced in her chest, each thump echoing the urgency she felt. Lucy's laughter drifted like a siren from inside, unaware of the storm brewing outside her window. That old thing has been around for years. Sweet memories come with it, don't they? His eyes glinted, reflecting something dark and sinister. Molly nodded tightly, her throat dry. We're going in now. She stepped back, shielding her daughter from the predatory gaze of the man next door. Just the sight of him made her skin crawl, yet something invisible drew her in. A sickening curiosity bleated within her mind, begging her to uncover the truth. As she turned, she felt the weight of his stare like a barbed wire across her back. The night settled thick, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. She rushed indoors, locking the door before glancing back at the window, half expecting to see him watching. But the darkness swallowed everything whole. He had vanished. After pulling the curtains tight, she took a deep breath, shaking off the encounter. Lucy was curled up in her bed, the bear clutched in her tiny hands as she slept peacefully. But peace was an illusion. That night, the whispers returned. Soft, taunting sounds crept through the walls, writhing like a serpent in her ear. Molly, help us! She jolted upright, her heart racing as the voice lured her out of bed. Who was there? Was it a child? Hands trembling, she peeked through the curtains, the night encasing her like a shroud. Nothing. Just the silent shadow of Mr. Jenkins's house loomed beside hers. Sleep eluded her. Darkness stretched, minutes dragging into hours. She lay awake, haunted by how familiar those whispers felt. A shiver clamped around her heart as she began to connect the dots. The child abduction cases from the basement. Lucy's missing toys. It all connected, but how? The fear threaded through her thoughts, coiling tighter. What if Mr. Jenkins was more than a creepy neighbor? What if he was a monster? Days turned into nights filled with dread. On the fourth night, she woke to a thud outside her window. Heart racing, she slipped from bed, clutching a flashlight, tiptoeing across the cold wooden floor. Outside, heavy breathing shattered the silence. Peeking through the crack in the drapes, she gasped. There he was, standing under the porch light, holding a small child. A girl? No. The child looked almost lifeless, her hair hanging limp against Mr. Jenkins's chest. Come outside, Molly, he crooned, his voice deep as smoke. You have something that belongs to me. Molly's breath caught in her throat. What did he mean? What did he want from her? Unsure, she gripped the flashlight tighter, her mind racing, but she had to know. Could it be? The profound mystery curled around her, thickening like a noose. With each tick of the clock, the lines between safety and treachery blurred. She had to make a choice. Would she confront him, risking everything, or retreat into the darkness, hoping for safety? Even in the face of terror, curiosity drove her forward. But what if that curiosity led her to a truth too horrifying to bear? As she stepped onto the porch, Mr. Jenkins's eyes gleamed like the night. I knew you'd come. What awaited her on the other side of that threshold? Molly's heart thundered in her chest as she crossed the threshold, each step echoing like a drumbeat of dread. Mr. Jenkins loomed before her, the shadow of his figure blending into the darkness like it was woven from it. That lifeless child hung in his arms like a broken doll. She squinted, trying to discern details, but the porch light remained cruelly dim. Who is she? Molly's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Was this a trick? Her instinct urged her to recoil, to flee back into the sanctuary of her home. But the grip of that bear in Lucy's hands, so innocent and disquieting, anchored her in place. She belongs to you now, he replied, tilting the child just enough that the flickering light caught the outline of a thin, pallid face. For a moment, Molly thought she recognized those features. Familiarity gnawed at her, tightening her throat. No. The word escaped her lips like a prayer, a plea against the reality forming before her. She is not mine. I don't know her. You will, he said, his grin unsettlingly wide. You'll understand soon enough. The bear has already started that for you. The air thickened with uncertainty, a tangible fog wrapping around her, making it hard to breathe. She forced her eyes to the child, desperate to find a spark of life, anything to distance her from this nightmare. With a sudden jerk, the girl raised her head. Her eyes, hollow and vacant, blinked slowly, locking on Molly with an unsettling emptiness. "Help us!" the child's voice emerged, a ghost of sound that sent ice racing through Molly's veins. The whispers, those voices from the walls, they lived within her too. "Aren't you curious?" Mr. Jenkins pressed, taking a step closer. "She's connected to you now. Just like your sweet Lucy." Molly's thoughts raced, spiraling into chaos. The pieces, the little toys missing from Lucy's room, the children that vanished from their own beds, it all converged on this moment, heavy and choking. She was on the brink of a terrifying realization, something dark and tangled that crawled into her mind like a spider. Get away from her! With newfound fury, she took a step backward. The roar of protective instinct surged through her, demanding she defend her daughter, her home. But as she turned, the child's echo drifted after her, taunting. "You can't save her, Molly. You'll be given a choice soon." The whispering one stop. "Molly!" Mr. Jenkins beckoned again, his voice curling around her like smoke, wrapping tighter. She froze, heart racing with the thought of retreating into the dark comfort of her house versus the unnerving unknown standing right in front of her. The bear trembled in her grasp as she turned back to him, and their eyes locked, a battle of wills exerting pulses of fear. She wouldn't let the darkness claim her. She wouldn't let it take Lucy. "Tell me what you want!" she shouted, the words a desperate plea clawing their way out. "Ah, your curiosity is delightful," he purred. "In time, you will know what I've taken. And what must be returned." Molly's mind raced. What was the price? Would she have to find something or someone lost in the shadows? She felt the darkness encroaching again, saturating the air with promises of horror. Then, a loud crash erupted from behind her. Startled, she turned back to the house just as the front door quaked under force. The chilling sound of rustling came from within. Lucy's laughter faded, replaced by that same haunting whisper familiar from nights past. "Mama, help us!" A chill ran down Molly's spine, the fear transforming into a raw, pricking panic. "Lucy!" she yelled, adrenaline propelling her back inside. What horrors awaited in their home now? What had Mr. Jenkins awakened? As she crossed the threshold, the screams of the night cried out to her. Shadows danced across the walls like frantic specters searching for reprieve. Molly ran toward the sound, heart racing, the ultimate question crashing into her mind. Would she save Lucy in time, or would the darkness consume them both? The sinister man outside chuckled, his laughter threading through the air with the promise of danger. "You'll have to choose, Molly. Time is running out." Molly stumbled into the living room, her breath caught in her throat. The furniture loomed like shadows, stretching into the corners, warped and twisted by the dim light from the lamp. A cold sweat coated her skin as she called, "Lucy!" Her voice echoed back at her, dampened by the dread thickening the air. "Mama, help us!" The whisper crawled around her, wrapping tight like barbed wire. Was it coming from Lucy, or was it the house itself speaking, a trap woven with all those hushed secrets? She tore down the hallway, the floor creaking underfoot, each step like a cry of alarm. The doors were ajar, but her instinct guided her to Lucy's room. The door swung open with a gentle push, revealing a childhood sanctuary turned sinister stage. "Lucy?" Molly's heart ached as she stepped inside, seeing the room in disarray. Plush toys tossed aside, clothes strewn across the floor. But above all, the air thrummed with that strange energy, the stifled cries still echoing. And then she saw it, the bear. The one Lucy always clutched, now motionless and darkened, its glassy eyes glimmering with an otherworldly light. Molly reached for it, her fingers trembling. "What happened here? Help us!" The voice was clearer now, rising from the bear, laced with a chilling familiarity. It was Lucy's voice, but muted, as if the child she loved was trapped in a cage of silence. Molly felt the air shift. Shadows crept closer. The walls seemed to close in, pulsating, quivering. With a fierce resolve, she clenched the bear, pulling it close to her heart. "Lucy! Where are you?" "Mama, I'm here." The voice was clearer, yet tinged with something sinister, as if it welcomed despair. Molly stepped back, gripping the bear tighter. Around her, the shadows deepened, rising like specters, clawing at her, trying to drag her under. Panic surged, suffocating. She had to stay calm. Tell me what to do. I'll save you. Choices. The whispers swirled louder, echoing furiously, drowning her senses. You must choose, Molly. One life for another. The room twisted, the edges blurring, pulling her into a dizzying void. She fought the urge to scream, clawing at the tether of reality that felt dangerously frayed. If Lucy wasn't here, where could she be? The bear clutched in her arms quivered, almost as if alive with dark intent. Mama, the voice wailed again, breaking through the suffocating thickness, sharper, more desperate. Molly felt her heart clench. Suddenly, an icy wind howled through the cracked window, extinguishing the feeble light. In that suffocating dark, something flashed, a movement, a figure darting past the doorway. Molly! The horrified shout splintered the silence. She recognized it. It was Mr. Jenkins, now illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the doorway. Let her go, he hissed, his eyes gleaming with the madness of something lost. You can't hold on to both. The choice is near, and only the poignant will survive. Desperation tightened around her throat. She could feel the weight of decisions crashing down. Could she trust him? Or was this another layer of the nightmare? The shadows shifted again, swirling with an anger that made her skin crawl. Mama! I'm scared. Lucy's voice dripped with terror, raw and real. Get away from her! Molly screamed, each word a dagger propelled by fear and fury. She had to figure this out. Find Lucy. Save her. But at what cost? The air crackled around her, tension spiraling, until the darkness swallowed the voice, plunging Molly into silence. With heart pulsating wildly in her chest, she glanced back towards the doorway, knowing she didn't have much time. How much could she sacrifice? Time's running out, Mr. Jenkins repeated, his grin malignant. Molly's mind raced, each moment stretching like an eternity. What would she give for her child? What was the true price of survival? She was on the edge, about to plunge into the deepest abyss, when she heard the softest whispers twist through the room again. Molly chose. Soon the shadows swarmed, drawing closer. She couldn't wait much longer. The moment of truth was upon her, but what if the choice was one she didn't want to make? Would she lose Lucy to the darkness just like all the others? The chilling uncertainty filled her with dread as she stood at the precipice of despair. Heart pounding, Molly blinked into the swirling darkness, trying to find clarity in the chaos surrounding her. She was suffocating in the shadows that whispered her name, recounting horrors she could barely comprehend. Lucy! She shouted, a desperate cry lost in the encroaching void. The bare pulse like a heartbeat in her arms. You have to choose, the words echoed, each syllable tightening around her throat. Reflexively, she clutched the toy tighter, feeling its rough fabric cut into her palm. One life for another. Mr. Jenkins stepped closer, his features warped under the ghostly glow of moonlight filtering through the window. Do you think you can save her? He hissed, eyes wide and wild, as if she were just another puzzle to solve. You have to act now, before they all take her. But who is they? Molly demanded, her voice trembling. Tears threatened to spill, but fear hardened her resolve. What are you saying? A sinister smile crept across Mr. Jenkins' face, one that didn't match the panic he previously displayed. The house is hungry. It craves a sacrifice. You must decide whose life feeds it. The shadows flared at his words, stretching toward her as they pulsed with a dark energy that provoked a chill running down her spine. Molly felt as if the walls themselves were closing in, the air thickening with dread. Get away! She shouted, backing up against the wall, desperately scanning the room for any sign of Lucy. Where is my daughter? Just tell me. Her light will be extinguished if you do not act. Jenkins spat, voice rising, becoming frantic. Choose quickly. Mama! Help us! Came Lucy's voice again, echoing from within the shadows, a haunting call that sliced through Molly's heart like a knife. Each feeble pulse of the bear seemed to react, as if it knew something she didn't. With every passing second, the walls were growing tighter, almost as if the house itself reveled in her despair. The air shimmered with an unnatural energy, wrapping around her like an oppressive blanket. Do you love her? Jenkins barked, stepping forward, invading her space. Then what will you sacrifice? Molly felt her heart racing. The weight of his words fell heavy on her. She could feel Lucy fading, an echo on the edge of her consciousness. The option twisted inside her, a mother's love versus an unimaginable darkness. What was this place? This house? She squeezed her eyes shut, forcing the images of her daughter's bright laughter to the forefront of her mind. Not Lucy, Molly breathed through clenched teeth. I want to let go. Then you'll lose everything. His voice rang with frantic urgency, but Molly didn't waver. The certainty of her love wove around her, a protective shield. Mama, the sound was faint, a mere whisper lost in the thunderous pulse of dread. Frustration built within her. What do you want from me? She screamed. What do I have to do? Silence descended, thicker than the shadows closing in. In that moment, everything around her seemed to still. She looked at Mr. Jenkins, his expression warped, a blend of pity and glee. Everything has a price, he murmured, almost conspiratorially. But it's time you learned what you're willing to lose. A gut-wrenching realization gripped her like ice. Could she sacrifice herself? Was that the answer? But the thought sickened her. She would never abandon Lucy. Never. The decision crashed down around her, narrowing her options to a terrifying choice. Suddenly, a piercing scream erupted from the depths of the darkness. Mama! No! The sound roared like a tempest, wrecking her dread and igniting new fear. She felt physically pulled toward it, the dreadful instinct to run straight to her daughter, but… Molly, the shadows whispered again, their voices mingling as if alive. Choose before it's too late. A shrill shriek cut through the air, and the ground trembled beneath her. Everything screamed for her attention at once, an ugly maelstrom of confusion and rage. Please! I can't lose her! Molly's voice cracked. No more waiting. No more hesitation. In a final act of desperation, she shoved the bear into her pocket and dashed toward the doorway, ready to confront whatever horror awaited her beyond the veil of darkness. But as she crossed the threshold, the whisper drifted back, ominous and taunting. Choices will be made. Her heart tore at the uncertainty. Which path would lead her to Lucy? As shadows lunged toward her, claiming the corridor with tendrils of menace, the decision dawned, one she couldn't make alone. And then everything went dark. Molly felt herself falling, the world around her shifting, until she landed in a fog of silence. The realm of choice awaited her, but inside, one truth knotted tightly: to save Lucy or to save herself. Could she live with the torment of losing either? Reality teetered, and she stood on the brink of terrifying choices. She landed softly, yet the confusion spun around her. The air was thick, not with shadows but with silence, a terrifying, oppressing silence. It smeared over her skin like cold oil. Molly blinked, her breath trapped in her throat. Lucy! The roar of desperation clawed its way out, but no response came. Not even a whisper. Panic clutched at her, but determination surged within her as she pushed through the mounting fear. She had to find Lucy. The fog rolled around her ankles, shrouding the ground beneath. Every step felt weighted, as if the very earth sought to pull her down. She turned, scanning her surroundings, but only gray met her eyes. Shapes danced just out of focus, sometimes resembling flowers, then morphing into twisted limbs. The faintest sound was like breathing, slow and guttural. Mama, her daughter's voice floated through the murk, muddled and distant, yet it ignited every protective instinct in her. Mama, please! Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes. I'm coming, Lucy! The words felt hollow, echoing in the emptiness. Molly pressed forward, her pulse throbbing in her ears. Shapes flickered ahead, unsettling and fuzzy. Without warning, a rusted door creaked open, yawning wide as if inviting her in. She hesitated, the darkness oozing from within like a venomous fog. But Lucy continued to call, her voice a fragile thread woven through the darkness. Mama, help! I'm so scared. Molly plunged into the doorway, the essence of dread spiraling around her. The interior felt cold and ancient, each step resonating with a soft thump that echoed like a heartbeat. Cobwebs hung like veils, obscuring what lay ahead. She strained her eyes, and there it was, a glimmer of light, flickering somewhere within. "Lucy!" she called again, lunging toward the glow, the hope pushing her through the murk. As she reached the source, it revealed itself as an old lamp, its light sputtering like an angry candle. Dust motes danced around it, swirling restlessly in the confined space. In that instant, she caught sight of her Lucy, her bright eyes wide with fear, trapped behind binding vines that writhed like snakes against the wall. "Mama! Help me!" Panic laced her words, the purest terror resonating from them. "I'm coming!" Molly stretched out her hand as fear transformed into a fiery resolve. She pulled at the vines, but they curled tighter like living beings, resistant to her touch. "Mama, hurry! They can feel you!" Lucy whimpered. A low growl emitted from the shadows, coiling tension heavier in the air. All too suddenly, figures emerged, flitting silhouettes with eyes of smoldering embers, hungry and glowering at them. Monsters born from darkness, fixated on the duo. "Come on, Molly!" Lucy cried, her voice laced with urgency. "You need to choose now." Panic swelled inside her chest, clawing at her heart. "Choose what? I won't let them take you." "They want more than just me," Lucy gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. "They want you too. You have to decide." Raging cries echoed, and the shadows surged forward like a tide of despair. Molly stumbled back, grasping hold of the lamp, its frail light wavering under the pressure of the encroaching darkness. "No!" she screamed, raising the lamp as if it could fend off the beasties lurking at the edge of her vision. The growl intensified, shaking her core. "What will it be?" echoed Mr. Jenkins' voice, sinister and mocking, invading her thoughts again. One life for another. A choking sensation gripped her throat. Each second weighed down with the enormity of her choice, the weight of her love pressing into her bones. Could she relinquish herself to save Lucy? Or was there another way? The shadows screeched, surging forward, tendrils extending, grasping. "Choose, Mama!" Lucy wailed, her voice cutting through the nightmare like a blade. Molly's heart split, torn between herself and her daughter. The room pulsed with energy as if the very walls craved the torment lodged in her chest. And then, the shadows lunged, ready to claim their prey. As darkness flooded the space, engulfing her screams, the question hung hauntingly in the air. Would the choice shatter her soul or save them both? In the cacophony of chaos, what would she sacrifice to put an end to this horror? Molly felt the darkness wrap around her like a funeral shroud, heavy and damp. The screams faded into a morbid silence, replacing the once frenzied cacophony. But within this suffocating stillness, her heart continued to race, a reminder of her fragile humanity. Suddenly, the air shifted, an electric tingle ran down her spine. The shrieks of shadows morphed into whispers. "Your choice," they sound. A chorus of voices snaked in and out, blending into one terrifying chant. "One life for another Lucy!" she gasped, igniting a new wave of desperate determination. She couldn't let them take her daughter, no matter the cost. In the next moment, the lamp flickered violently, transforming the vast, engulfing dark into snapshots of matted fur and pockmarked skin. The shadows shifted, revealing features that made her skin crawl. Their elongated limbs ended in claw-like fingers that twitched and pulsed with malevolence. Eyes of burning coal fixated on her, hungry, demanding. Mama Lucy's voice grew quieter, strained, yet still threaded with hope. "You can't give in." Molly's fingers fumbled at the lamp, the fragile light resembling a dying heartbeat. The moment felt unbearable, as though she stood on the precipice of an unspeakable choice. Moisture pooled around her eyes, blurring the horrifying figures. She squeezed them shut, turning her mind away from loss. "Think, Molly!" she berated herself. "What am I really giving up?" The shadows surged forward, a black tide breaking against her defenses. She could hear Lucy's heartbeat in the silence, a calming, steady rhythm that fought against the surrounding chaos. Her instincts screamed to protect that sound, to love it fiercely, yet the clamor from the dark demanded her attention. With each breath, she allowed herself to confront the shadows, arms held high, lamp as a shield. "You have no power over us." The words echoed off the cold walls. The shadows hissed, recoiling almost imperceptibly. At that moment, a thought ignited. What if her light didn't just fend them off? What if it could reveal their true selves? Her heart raced again, a new plan blossoming within fear. "Lucy, close your eyes. Trust me," Molly shouted, the command piercing through the veil of panic. In that second, she tilted the lamp, exposing its light not only to Lucy but to the creeping darkness swirling around them. The light flared brighter, sharper, the dim corners of the room erupting into an explosion of colors. Shadows writhed, morphing into grotesque forms, their tortured faces contorting in fear of the illumination. As they shifted, pieces of their blackened essence peeled away, shattering in the air like brittle glass. Lucy's prison wavered, the vines seemed to retreat momentarily. Molly took a step forward, heart thundering, and cried, "Let her go!" The darkness twisted violently, a fury unleashed. "This isn't your game," a voice thundered, reverberating through her bones. "You think you can save her?" Molly didn't hesitate. "I can save us both." The conviction surged through her veins as she moved closer to Lucy, pushing against the monumental force of despair. Then, out of the swirl of chaotic energy, a single black tendril shot forward, sharp as a blade, reaching for her heart, her vulnerability. The shadows screamed in rage, desperate to reclaim their prey, to warp the light again into despair. Just as she felt the icy grip encircle her, an image flashed in her mind, a memory of Lucy laughing, carefree, the sunlight dancing on her golden hair, illuminating everything good in this world. The light shifted inside her, illuminating her resolve. With a fierce cry, she swung the lamp, unleashing a burst of blinding light that shattered the nearest shadow. The scream that followed was deafening, rippling through the air, sending shockwaves of anguish and rage. The darkness started to unravel, scattered by the resurgence of light and love. But in the depths of that chaos, a sinister presence lingered, one that seemed to grow from the ashes of shadows. "Not all will be saved," an echoing whisper claimed as they began to dissolve, leaving Molly unsure of what awaited her in this haunting realm. Her heart raced with uncertainty. "What have I done?" she thought, surrounding herself in the healing glow as the shadows receded. Would this awakening of light banish the horrors, or merely reveal a deeper, more insidious threat lurking beyond the veil? The answers clawed at her as shadows continued to whisper her name. The shadows cringed and recoiled, but not entirely defeated. Molly's heart hammered against her ribcage, a frantic drum echoing in the sudden silence that settled over the room. She looked at Lucy, who trembled but remained focused, trusting her mother's courage. "Mama, please," Lucy whispered, her small voice breaking the calm. "What's happening?" "Oh, sweet girl," Molly breathed, desperately scanning for the dark, oily remnants that still clung to the corners like lingering nightmares. The dimness could come rushing back fierce and unrelenting. "Stay close. We'll get through this." But a shiver ran through her as a sense of foreboding wrapped around her heart. How far could her light reach? The remnants of darkness swirled ominously, like a storm gathering strength. Cold sweat broke out on her brow, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Suddenly, the lamp flickered again, the glow pulsing weakly as shadows formed into shapes, twisting to reveal what lay beneath their surface. Molly's mind raced, searching for a way to hold the darkness at bay. She had to find the source, the heart of the evil that threatened them. "Lucy, keep your eyes," the room around them shuddered. With a deafening crack, one of the walls buckled, and a dark figure slipped through, like smoke escaping from a fire. It was tall, and possibly thin, towering over the lamp's feeble glow. The figure raised a twisted arm, fingers elongating and curling like withered branches yearning for life. "Mama," Lucy whimpered, and Molly stepped protectively in front of her, lamp ready. "Go back!" Molly shouted, her voice slicing through the rising panic. "You're not welcome here." The figure paused, a lingering tension vibrating in the air, and then it spoke. The voice slithered from its lips, a sickening whisper that stirred memories of regret and anguish. "What you have done can't be undone. Molly's hands shook as she gripped the lamp tighter. "We'll face whatever you are." It laughed, a sound reminiscent of cracking ice, chilling her to the bone. "You think this is a fight?" "You're merely a flicker in the dark." Before she could react, the figure lunged, its tendrils reaching for her, but Molly's instinct propelled her forward. She thrust the lamp into the darkness, illuminating the apparition. The light revealed features of despair, eyes filled with sorrow, mouth twisted in agony. "No!" it shrieked, reeling from the illumination. "You only delay the truth for a brief moment." Doubt flashed across Molly's mind. What truth? But she pressed on, forcing herself to push past the fear, her heart fueling the light. "Let Lucy go!" she shouted with every ounce of strength. The shadows crept dangerously close, dark fingers inching toward Lucy, who stood paralyzed in terror. Fear clawed at Molly, gripping her stomach like a vice. "Focus on the light, Lucy! Feel it!" And Lucy did. Slowly, the light shimmered and brightened in her palms, merging with her mother's strength. Together, they became a shimmering beacon against the encroaching darkness. For a moment, it felt like they were pulling the shadows away, but then the laughter came again, the mocking sound, rising in a crescendo that crescendoed around them. "Your unity comes from despair," the figure responded, its words curling around them like smoke. "You cannot kill what has already taken root." As the laughter buried into the walls, the room warped around them. It felt as if reality itself was unraveling, the ground rumbling ominously beneath Molly's feet. "No! No!" Panic surged within her as the darkness thickened. It wasn't just the shadows. It was something more, something deeper, festering somewhere within the fabric of their existence. "Mama!" Lucy cried, her voice a raw plea that cut through Molly's fear. In that moment, Molly understood whatever this was, whatever power it held, it wasn't finished. The light flickered dangerously, and her mind raced with dread. "Molly," a voice echoed from the shadows, soft yet forceful. "Everything you love will lead to your greatest fear." As the air thickened with menace, Molly felt the chilling truth hit her, leaving her breathless. She could no longer know where safety lay. With time slipping away and darkness creeping in, she clung to her daughter, fear blooming in her chest. What had she truly awakened? And what price would they pay to confront it? Molly's heart froze as the ground shuddered again, a pulse beneath their feet, each thump a reminder of the threat closing in. Could they hold the darkness at bay long enough to learn what it wanted? The answer loomed dangerously, approaching with the shadows swiftly. Molly's breath hitched as the darkness pressed around them, dense and suffocating. The walls seemed to shudder again, moaning under the weight of the unseen horror that lurked just beyond the light. Panic swirled in her gut. She was losing grip on reality, and each pulse of the ground beneath her seemed like a heartbeat, foreboding, relentless. "Mama, what is happening?" Lucy's voice trembled, barely above a whisper, yet it sliced through the oppressive gloom. Molly's heart sank. "Just hold on to the light, Lucy," she urged, stepping forward, dragging her daughter with her even as the shadows licked greedily at their heels. The figure paused at the border of their illumination, fuming like a tempest ready to unleash its fury. "You think you can defy me?" The voice dripped with mockery, but underneath, a layer of bitterness simmered, promising pain. "You've only scraped the surface." The hairs on the back of Molly's neck stood up. She thought of everything they had been through. The house, the stories, the long nights filled with empty whispers. What had they awoken in their ignorance? Suddenly, Lucy gasped, pointing a quivering finger toward the corner of the room. "Mama! Look!" Molly followed her gaze, and horror sunk into her chest like ice. Shadows merged and thickened, morphing into writhing images, familiar faces twisted in anguish. Neighbors, friends, people she had known, their expressions contorted, mouths open in silent screams, haunting her. "No!" Molly shouted, revulsion washing over her. "You're not real! Get out of my head!" The figure shifted as if enticed by her anguished denial. "Are they not real, Molly? Or are they reflections of your deepest fears?" It launched itself forward, gaining speed, its tendrils reaching out to ensnare them both. Molly squeezed Lucy's hand tighter, the light trembling in their grasp. She felt the warmth of their connection deep within her, fighting against the cold that threatened to swallow them. We can beat this. Just keep focusing on the light. But the shadows writhed, wrapping around their ankles, thorns twisting into flesh, pulling them down. The air grew heavy. Lucy was slipping. Hold on! Molly cried, yanking against the darkness. The lamp flickered wildly, a desperate flick of fire against the storm. The figure paused as if contemplating this defiance, a growl rumbling from its core. You think unity brings strength, but it is born from weakness. Every moment you cling to this light only draws you closer to the abyss. No! Molly screamed, rage surging but mixed with sheer terror. We aren't afraid of you. Yet doubt nipped at her resolve, like a frigid wind slicing through her soul. A memory flashed a time she had turned away from her instincts, from warnings, from the suspicions that had settled in her gut. Was this creature born from her failures? Mama, Lucy whimpered softly, eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. Molly's heart raced dangerously. The shadows churned greedily. A thought flickered: if they were stronger together, then what lay in the shadows was not only an enemy but a part of her, a reflection of her unhealed wounds. We have to confront it, she breathed, a desperate knowing in her voice. We can't run away. But before she could rally her thoughts, a sharp pain pierced her side, snapping her focus. One of the shadowy tendrils had found its mark, burrowing into the fabric of her being. Mama! Lucy screamed, her light dimming. Beside her, the shadows recoiled, pulling Molly dangerously close to the brink. Everything around them vibrated violently. The floor cracked, the walls twisted as if the house itself were alive, ripping at the seams, longing to swallow them whole. Mama, help! Lucy's terrified voice tore through the chaos, pleading for strength. It was now or never. Molly's heart pounded in her ears, a war drum of survival. We confront our fear, Lucy. Together. But could they withstand the weight of what lay lurking just beyond the shadows? Just then, the room exploded into darkness, swallowing their light in an engulfing embrace, and Molly felt her strength wafting away like smoke. As they fell into the void, a final whisper cut through the silence. Only when confronted will you know the truth. And in that darkness, dread gripped her heart. Were they lost forever? Or was this the beginning of a nightmare that could change everything? Molly felt the world unraveling around her. The darkness was intense, thick as molasses, suffocating and insurmountable. She held Lucy's hand, but with every flicker of pain that shot through her, she felt the grip weakening, the connection fraying just like the threads of reality around them. Mama, don't let go! Lucy cried, her voice piercing through the void like a beacon of hope. Molly's heart swelled with fierce love, anchoring her as fear clawed at her. I want tea, she promised breathlessly, a vow seeping from her very soul. I will never let you go. Then face it. The shadows hissed, their ominous laughter reverberating against the cold wall of silence, curling around her resolve like a chain. She squeezed Lucy's hand, gathering her fading strength as the figure loomed ahead, shapeless but undeniably real. It was here, ready to drown them in despair. Molly could feel the weight of it pressing down, memories tangled in darkness, those haunting faces flashing behind her eyes, her own fears and regrets coalescing into this monstrous silhouette. With a fierce surge of determination, she shouted, "You're nothing but a reflection of my fears. You can't own me." The shadows flickered in surprise, shifting on the cusp of retreat. She felt Lucy's small hand tighten around hers. We can do it, Mama. Together. The light! Molly cried, igniting the embers of hope smoldering within her. She could feel the warmth of Lucy's spirit, the light pushing back the shadows, trying to wrap around her heart. In that moment she understood, this wasn't just about fighting, it was about acceptance. Recognizing the darkness inside and embracing the light they shared. Lucy, pull with me! Molly roared, lifting the lamp high above her head, its fragile glow feeling more powerful than the storm raging all around them. The darkness recoiled, hissing at them, but they pressed on. Let us not just fight, let us illuminate the truth, Molly cried, directing all her love, fear, and resolve into that single flicker of light. The shadows coiled closer, but now, they were fighting against fear and pain, not just for survival. As the light radiated outward, glimmers turned to beams, illuminating the wall of anguish that surrounded them. The wails morphed into screams of agony, echoing through the void. Lisa's terrified face emerged in the light, twisted in both horror and hope. "We can heal this, Molly. Remember?" Lucy's words reignited the warmth of resilience flowing between them. It wasn't just their past fears but a chance to heal those burdens together. With renewed strength, Molly shouted, "I refuse to succumb to you. I choose love over fear, light over darkness." The lamp blazed, cascades of brilliant light burst forth, scattering the shadows. The grotesque figures seemed to shriek loud and piercing as they dissolved against the fierce radiance. Molly and Lucy stood together against the darkness, the warmth of their bond igniting the echoes in the room. "Help us!" those familiar voices pleaded from the shadows. But Molly's heart, powered by love, shouted back, "No! You wouldn't take us. You don't own our truth." With a final, blinding surge, the oppressive dark rolled back, disintegrating into the light. Molly breathed heavily, trembling as vision returned to the world around her. They emerged into a vibrant, swirling realm nothing like before, but alive with color and warmth. Lucy turned to her mother, eyes bright with innocent wonder. "Did we do it, Mama?" Molly, eyes shimmering with tears of relief, nodded vigorously. "Yes, love. Yes, we did." They shared an embrace, the weight of fear lifting, replaced with warmth and hope. No longer shackled by the sinister grip of Mr. Jenkins or the lurking shadows, they stood now in a place that felt like home, a sanctuary of their own making. "Mama, I'm not scared anymore," Lucy whispered, her little face glowing with the essence of childhood once more. As the darkness faded into memories, Molly felt a quiet, powerful responsibility surge within her. Not just the duty to protect, but a mission to heal the wounds etched deep within Cedar Creek's soil, ensuring the truth didn't just stay buried there. "We'll make this right," she promised. One step at a time. Molly knew their journey had just begun. She looked around and saw glimpses of people who had suffered, shadows lifting, hearts yearning for healing. With Lucy by her side, they would be the light that chased away darkness, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. Together, they stepped forward into a brighter, promising dawn, defiantly choosing strength, love, and hope. And in that moment, as they walked into the future, they knew there would always be shadows. Yet with strength drawn from love, they felt ready to face whatever came next. Now, an urgent call to action. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. This is the moment to show your support for the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories.